Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review. This time reviewing episode 125. With the combined efforts of number 17 and Frieza, Universe 7 finally has Toppo on the ropes. But Toppo then proclaims that justice is worthless and has made up his mind. He begins to power up into a God of Destruction, being previously groomed as a candidate for one. With his newfound power-up and ability to destroy, he overpowers Frieza, but 17 isn't going to give up just yet. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, Toppo's God of Destruction power-up. One of my biggest gripes with the Tournament of Power has been that when some of the antagonists have sort of pulled out their kind of like last-ditch sort of trump card power-up that they'd sort of been saving until now, I felt like there was often not a very good reason as to why they didn't actually use those power-ups until the very end, given that they didn't seem to have any conceivable drawbacks at all. I was complaining about that in particular last week with Dispo. But here, with Toppo's power-up to become a God of Destruction, I can kind of understand as to why he either couldn't or didn't choose to do that and use that power until the very last minute, until he would have been eliminated otherwise by Frieza. And that's because, like, the idea is to become a God of Destruction, Toppo basically has to kind of give up the ideas of justice and evil, to kind of sort of ascend beyond those ideas of, like, you know, human morality to actually become a god. And Toppo is the leader of the Pride Troopers, whose job is basically to do that exact thing. So basically, to get this power-up, to become this God of Destruction, Toppo essentially has to give up everything that he represents. And that's kind of almost tragic. I can understand as to why he would basically have to be forced to use that power, because the assumption is he probably can't go back. It's sort of like the reason as to why Vegeta probably isn't going to get Ultra Instinct. It's like the idea behind using that power is just so different and just so, like, unlike what they represent, they probably wouldn't be able to use it unless they were basically forced to. Not to mention, the kind of really cool thing about having Toppo be essentially a God of Destruction and having the powers of a God of Destruction means that, well, we actually get to see how the main characters would be able to fight against somebody like Beerus if he was actually kind of taking things seriously. We see that Toppo has all these sort of unique powers and skill sets that a God of Destruction presumably does have. That is, he has the ability to basically destroy anything. And he uses that in an interesting way, in that he sort of surrounds himself with that kind of aura of destruction, so that basically anything that comes near him can pretty much be destroyed, and he uses that to pretty much cancel out any attack that's coming towards him. And that is something that legitimately feels like a threat, and I legitimately cannot think of a way as to how they're going to be able to overcome it. And that's really cool for an antagonist. You know, Toppo is stronger and he's a threat not just because his power level is now higher because we said so. Like, I mean, that's part of it, but the other reason is he also has these unique abilities that are literally god tier powers that you probably can't really counter unless they're really strong. So it's interesting. Like, I legitimately want to see how they're going to win this fight, if they can win it at all. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, honestly, these are more kind of little small nitpicks and actual legitimate criticisms. One is that once again they sort of used a kind of visual reference to something that happened earlier on in the franchise. In this case, Frieza sort of trying to deal with Toppo took a lot of similarities to Frieza trying to deal with Goku's Genki Dama, and it's sort of like, once again, I kind of wish that they would be able to come up with unique ideas instead of just kind of basically almost ripping off storyboards from things that happen in Dragon Ball Z. They've been doing this basically throughout the entire series, but I wish they would tone it down a bit, especially considering we're so close to the end. Also, I'm a little bit disappointed that the Goku and Vegeta versus Jiren fight at this point has kind of been downgraded to a little bit of a kind of subplot. It is like, it's always been like the B plot of like the last two episodes, and as a result of that, basically partially because of that, we basically know that the fight with Jiren isn't really going to progress in any significant way. Every time Goku and Vegeta have been fighting with Jiren, it kind of just feels like it's more just there to pad out the running time than to actually like make the fight progress forward. All we've really been seeing is the stuff that we've already been seeing, and that is that Jiren is really strong and them fighting him together might be better than and them fighting them alone, but they still can't beat him. And Jiren is like the strongest antagonist out of all of them. Goku and Vegeta fighting together is honestly kind of a significant deal. I'm kind of surprised it's been delegated to be plot material for the last 2 episodes. So as for next episode, well, 17 is going to continue to fight Toppo, and that honestly sounds really fun because between 17's infinite energy and Toppo's destruction powers, this seems like this is basically a fight between an unstoppable force and an immovable object, so that's really cool. And also it looks like the Toppo and the Jiren fights are going to be intersecting in some way, given that Vegeta is going to fight Toppo as well. I doubt Vegeta is going to get another power-up, so is this going to be the end for him, or for 17, or for Frieza, who seems like he was taken out of commission? How is this going to relate to the Jiren fight? What exactly is going on? And when is Goku going to unlock Ultra Instinct? That is the big question, of course, we've all got, and it's going to be very interesting to see what is going to happen next episode and how it's going to tie in with everything else and everybody else in the tournament. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 125. Honestly, it was really enjoyable. We've had a lot of episodes where villains get power-ups and it seems like the heroes are suddenly the ones in legitimate danger, but some of the time it felt like they couldn't always sell those ideas because we knew a lot of these characters would survive until at least the Universe 11 fight. But here, we're at the Universe 11 fight, we've only got 2 guys left. Toppo just got a power-up and he's dealing with a lot of these guys really quickly. And because we're so close to the end, it does feel like they legitimately could get eliminated. Plus, we got to see a lot of enjoyable character moments for Frieza, for 17, for them together, and just the way that they all kind of bounce off each other. At this point, we're so close to the climax, we can't really be going through the motions. Whatever is happening here, presumably, is going to be important for the very, very end of the tournament and how the tournament actually finishes. And that makes it even more compelling to watch than, say, some stuff in the earlier parts of the tournament. Sometimes I wish I hadn't really immersed myself in the spoiler culture, because this is the kind of thing where I legitimately do not want to know what happens in the next few episodes. I don't really want to have the end of the tournament spoiled for me, because those few moments when we're kind of uncertain as to what's going to happen next, those are the most interesting parts for me, especially given that this is the last arc of Dragon Ball Super, and what happens here is going to kind of decide the end of the very long kind of like over 2-year ride that we've all been having. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. So this is Gabby signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!